So I'd never heard of Chainsaw Man until the anime preview was released, and having since binged it over 3 days, I can safely say that when Chainsaw Man the anime comes out in 2022, it is going to be the biggest series in 2022. And this video is to showcase the reasons why, and why you should definitely go and check out the manga before the anime gets released, because after reading the series, I am really excited to see what they do for the anime and also what's there to come after the fact. So the main character Denji has that classic shonen humor, but the series is the opposite. As the series progresses, it is super dark, it is very violent, it is super grim, and having that juxtaposition of the humor and the goofiness with what's being shown, especially as it develops, because it turns away from being silly and goofy into more of a serious tone, it really makes the reading experience that much more thrilling, because you think it's going one way and then it continuously just goes in this whole different direction. And then it turns from goofy humor to really dark and twisted humor. Now, reading this manga has been the most emotional roller coaster I can ever remember reading of a manga, period. And I've read series like Berserk, I've read Gantz, all these other series. So to see the twists and turns that this series makes, I wasn't prepared for what they showed, and it definitely is the most exciting thing that I read this year. So the art style improves over time. So if you get a little bit sort of discouraged, like I did at first, I found this to be not really that sort of appealing. The humor and just the way the story was, I'm like, oh, okay, this is pretty ordinary, this is really standard. To see where it goes, it really kicks it up a notch, I'm telling you. About a third way through, onwards, it just continuously improves with the story, the twists and turns, the art style, it's just nuts. Now, the climax for the manga is one of the most satisfying ones I've read personally. The start has a lot of things being set up. Specifically, there is a story arc with the Gun Devil, which I won't go into, but if people know what I'm talking about, where that progresses into and what that unfolds into is one of the most horrific things that I've ever read. It is nuts. Like, the emotions and I was genuinely frightened and scared just because there is a lot of hype, a lot of build-up, a lot of things being alluded to, it's speculated, it's tossed in there very early on. So when that gets eventually unveiled, and what that actually is so terrifying. And once it has been established what the world is, how the abilities work, what these devils do, what the powers are, when you see what happens later on, the gravity of the situation is terrifying, and the way in which they go and explain every situation is very similar to Hunter x Hunter, where if you know in those fights, you have the narrator explain, and it's like very meticulously broken down into every single second of every scene, and everything is explained in great detail to give you an understanding of what is actually happening. That stuff happens specifically for the Gun Devil, and it is so absolutely horrifying, explaining what it actually is and what's actually happening in the panels. And I have no idea how they're going to adapt this into the anime. They have to censor a lot of parts of this series because it is very grim, it is very gruesome. So having that part is going to be, no one's prepared. I wasn't prepared for what they showed. So I know a lot of readers or a lot of reviewers of the anime, they're not going to be ready whatsoever from what's been built from the start to where it is now. It's very similar again to Hunter x Hunter, where at the very start, it seems fun, Gon wants to become a hunter, look for his dad, we're gonna meet fun characters, quirkiness, and then you get to the Chimera Ant arc and how grim that is with Netero and Meruem and all the sorts of stuff, and Gon going crazy, and it's just the shift of themes, the shift of the feeling, going from goofiness and lightheartedness to really dark, grim, depressing is exactly what this series does. So I really enjoyed that. It made it very dynamic and very fun to see where is this going to go next, because you don't know. So the cast of characters being Power, Denji, and Makima is a very fun, interesting, intriguing, dynamic mix. And it's very fun to go and see their interactions and see how everything progresses in the story. The biggest thing I can really hit home is the progression of characters is fantastic in the series. And so when you're reading it, every single bit of dialogue is meaningful. Every single action in the series is meaningful. There's no downtime, there is no filler. It all matters. So of course the series is being adapted by MAPPA for 2022. And that's one of the biggest reasons I can really emphasize to go and read the series now, because it is such a fantastic, fun, exciting read with many twists and turns. But the fact that it is being adapted by MAPPA means that it's going to take what is already great and just gonna turn it up to 11, because what we've seen from the preview gives me so much excitement because of what's to come in the manga. It's gonna be absolutely off the wall, and I totally see this being the biggest series of 2022 once people get to go and actually see what is happening in the series. A big plus for me is that the chapter's only 97 chapters long, so it is very nice to go and pick up and read, and you're not overwhelmed and daunted by the absolute scale of the series because it's only 97 chapters, not to mention that each arc of the series has an arc length of only about 10 or so chapters. So they're very easy to go and pick up and have in bite-sized chunks, just the size of a single volume that you can read in just no time at all. And you can just break that up and get through the whole series. And each of those arcs are so full of content. They're so crazy. The pace of the manga just turns it up the more you read into it. The stuff that gets sort of foreshadowed in the very start of the series, you think you know where it's going, and then it flips it on its head, and then it just turns it into fifth gear and just goes off the rails and just continues going into a direction that you didn't know you was gonna go. And then you get to a point where you're just like, okay, I don't know where it's going. I'm just here for the ride, just to show me what's happening. And then you just start binging and binging until it's over. And then you start looking up online about when the next trailer's coming out, when the series is actually releasing. It's a series to get really hyped for. And that's what I want to read. I want to read series that get me excited, that get me to want to go and talk about it with others. So I'm hoping that making this video gets you just the opportunity to go and check it out, because I really do think it is worth it. And a lot of the hype is indeed real. It is worth the hype, in my opinion. I know a lot of people, you'll see reviews like I saw, saying otherwise. That's the same with any other series. But honestly, for me, who likes Berserk, Hunter x Hunter, One Piece, all of these series, this is one of the best series that I've read, is one of the most exciting series that I've read. It's not necessarily, say, like the best writing or anything like that, the best character development. It's not as fleshed out as other series, because it is also relatively short, but the excitement that I got reading it is what I want to read it for. I want to be able to not know what is going to happen next, and I also want to be able to not stop reading, because once you get that little itch, that you get that little bit of excitement that you want to keep reading, that's what I want. And I want to look forward to more. And the good news is that there is going to be more content, because of course there is the anime, but also there's going to be more manga content in the future. So that's something also to look forward to and get excited about, is that the story is not just ending here. There's going to be a continuation in some form. Now, Makima has to be one of the most intriguing, scary, confusing characters I've ever read. And you have suspicions, you have thoughts, and those get answered in the series. And the way in which he gets answered and what gets revealed, I don't think you'll somewhat be prepared for. I wasn't. I had my suspicions, but I wasn't prepared for what was shown. So that is also a very exciting read. When you have characters, especially one like Makima, in the story and what's surrounding it, it is a very exciting time. And that's the one thing I'd like. I mean, other than fantastic action scenes, like some of the action scenes are so cool. The designs in the series is insane. I absolutely love some of the designs. But when you have characters that give so much intrigue that I'm genuinely fearful for, like scared of, because they're just so twisted in their own way, that it makes it exciting to see everything unfold as it does in the series. So those are my thoughts for Chainsaw Man. I hope you guys go and check it out, because it is definitely worth a watch, worth a read. And I'm so excited to go and see once it comes out in 2022. And having all those points I've said, and once you guys eventually read it for yourselves, I think it's safe to go on that we can agree on that it is most definitely going to go and be the biggest series in 2022. I just feel that it's going to be that way. I think that the impression and the impact it's going to make on the anime community once it releases is going to be quite huge. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what other people think. If you guys have seen it yourself, have you read Chainsaw Man? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And if you have any sort of recommendations of other series that are similar, I'd very much like to go and read them because the excitement that I felt reading that, I want to have more of. So if you have any other suggestions, let me know in the comment section. If you guys like this video, be sure to go and like the video and subscribe. It really helps me out. And you can look forward to more videos much like this one, talking about different series that I enjoy every week. So with that being said, I hope you guys have an awesome day. Take care, and I'll see you all on the next one.